Well, spring has sprung in the Waikato with grass growing and the sheep milk is flowing. Maui Milk has 4 new independent suppliers in addition to its own established farms. But the company needs a lot more milk, and there is some incredible incentives behind it. As reported in this week's Farmers Weekly by journalist Gerald Pickett, new sheep milking conversions in Waikato are delivering twice the per hectare income that farmers used to earn from dairy cows. Tom Woutersen is the Maui Milk Manager responsible for new supply and joins us now. Hey Tom, this is incredible in terms of the stats. Before we get on to how to get involved, let's talk around some of these figures. 14,000 a hectare as opposed to 7,000 a hectare in milking cows. This is the payout. How has Maui Milk and the sheep milking industry here in New Zealand been able to achieve that premium?
Yeah, okay. 14,000 is a pretty exciting number, particularly if you compare it to dairy cows. So what it comes down to is it's based on 17 ewes per hectare, producing 275 litres per ewe. And sheep milk, or the fact that we pay on is total milk solids, which is fat, protein, lactose, and ash. It's about 17.5%. So at $17 a kilo, it works out to be $14,000 per hectare as a gross income.
But what about with regards to the expenses as well, and conversion costs and labour and things that are maybe more dairy farmers are not as familiar with? Is sheep farming more complicated?
That's a good question, and it's something we're still learning. I guess this industry is really, really young, so we're learning a lot every day. But some of the costs are really comparable to dairy cows. So that's your land-based expenses, so fertilizer and shed running costs and things like that are actually really similar. The thing that's different is possibly labour. Labour is there's probably a larger requirement for labour because you just have a larger number of animals on the same area. So what we're getting to now is we're getting a bit of an understanding about what our suppliers' costs look like, and we're actually developing a model which prospective suppliers could use to get a bit of an idea. But what it actually comes down to is, yes, the costs will likely be slightly higher than dairy cows, but that won't offset the extra income. So overall, we think that operating profit will be considerably higher as well.
Okay, and in your role in trying to encourage more people to come in, you were looking for more suppliers and creating that pathway for them. But in particular, you've pointed out that young farmers could see this as a possible route to farm ownership. What's the model structure around that people should get excited about?
Yeah, so there's lots of different ways to get involved, and one of them is for young farmers. I guess the stepping stone to farm ownership is smaller in sheep dairy because the size, the parcel of land required for sheep dairy is smaller than what you'd consider or you need for a commercial dairy farm these days. So we're looking at farms, say, between 40 and 80 hectares compared to a dairy cow farm, which ideally is 100 plus. So that's ideal. So you'd require less capital up front for that. But there's also going to be opportunities for people to get involved in terms of equity partnerships and things like that. So there's plenty of options. We're just exploring them with different people and seeing what it looks like.
And how's Maui Milk walking beside people to be able to make these decisions?
Yeah, so we're working really closely. We've got a bunch of people that we're talking to, and we try to, I guess, use the information that our current suppliers have learned this year, provide them with that information. We, like I said, developing tools like our financial model, which they can use and plug in different assumptions to figure out what it looks like from a financial basis. We've also just got a whole bunch of experts in their field. So like we've got Jenny Dudansky, our vet, and Colin Oliver, our milk quality expert. So these are people that they can, I guess, touch base with and learn as much as possible. We've also got a lot of support from companies within the industry in terms of shed builders or those sort of guys that are really supportive of this industry and keen to see it grow.
Sometimes the barriers can be about getting your hands on good genetics and animals. Is that a shortage, in what's Maui doing to support people being able to stock up with the right type of milking sheep?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the quality of milking sheep is absolutely critical to this. If we don't have the right sheep, then this whole industry wouldn't be a starter. But what Maui has done, along with our sister company, Southern Cross Dairy Sheep Technology, is we've actually got the import rights to Lacone, which is a French dairy sheep, and that is capable of producing around 400 litres per ewe over in France. And we think that the same can be done over here. So we're importing that progeny tested semen, and we're using that in our genetic program on one of our farms down in Taupo, and we're just breeding the best sheep for New Zealand, which we then use to go out to supply farms.
And of course, environmentally, sheep milking is considerably lighter on the environment. What type of difference are you seeing through models such as Overseer?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's something that's really early days in terms of the number that. So I can't really put a percentage on it or anything like that, but we are pretty confident that the environmental footprint is lower. And one of the points around that is actually that our two farms are, which Maui Milk own, they are based on the banks of or the shores of Lake Taupo. So there's no way that we would be able to operate a cow dairy farm there. It's a pretty cool story, and we get a lot of interest from farmers about that aspect of it. We also see less pugging and just it's generally lighter on the land, which is really good.
And whereabouts is this biggest market for New Zealand sheep milk?
Yeah, so our sheep milk is predominantly processed. It's processed here in the Waikato, and we sell it to Danone, who produce the Carry Care infant formula, a special sheep milk range, and that is then goes off to Asia. But it's also available here on mumstore.co.nz. And so anyone who's, I guess, intolerant to dairy cow's milk, and that's a really good viable option.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Tom Woutersen, sorry, my apologies, business operations there at Maui Milk. This is Sarah's Country.